Krita installed? You don't? All right. It's real simple. It'll probably be the easiest thing you download all day. You just go to krita.org, go to the download page, and just make sure to pick the 64 or the 64-bit installer. You download it. That's it. You don't have to log in. You don't have to make accounts or anything. But everybody else has it or is going to follow along if you want to. So if you have Krita, open it up. I'm going to take you through the basic menu options first. So here's your workspace, real simple. What you will want to do to start is in the top right corner right here, choose Workspace. These are going to give you your basic workspaces. However, you're going to have to make a new canvas first. So press Control-N, just make a new canvas, whatever size you want. Here's your width, here's your height. Don't worry about the rest of the stuff. Just create it. And once you've done that, go up to the right button here, choose Workspace. Here are different kinds of workspace. You'll see they change the windows around. We're only going to worry about 2 of them today, our default and our animation panel. And I'll get to this at the end if I have time. So on your default, we have more options than just the windows here. So if you go to Settings, go to Dockers, those are a list of other windows that you can add to this. You probably won't use most of these if you're just doing like straight pixel art or something like that. But a few that you might find useful is the overview, which it's very small in the corner because this is a small canvas. But it'll show you an overview of your sprite over here. Yeah, it's pretty bad, but that's the function of it. There is a palette one, which will give you some standard palettes that you can use if you don't know what colors to use. And there is a reference images one, which is very useful. I would recommend you use this if you want to use reference images at all, because you can pick an image, and it'll put it right there. You can put it next to whatever you're spriting. That's a tree. Don't worry about it. All right, so everything else up here is just like standard Photoshop, minus like a few things. You have your regular filters here. So you have your auto contrast, the regular stuff if you want to fix up your image. Color to alpha, I'll go over that in a second. Enhance, all this other stuff. Play around with these. Layer, you can do the same thing over on here instead of going here. But if you want to do this, then you can import layers, make new layers, group your layers, transform. Image here is where you're going to rotate stuff, scale images. Scaling images to a new size and resizing canvas are different. I just want to let you know. Don't confuse the two. Scaling image to a new size will actually make the image bigger. If you're doing pixel art, I probably wouldn't recommend it doing it like this because it'll make it ugly. As you can see, there's a lot of anti-aliasing over here. If you want to make it better, I would go under Filter, go to Box, and now when you resize it, it won't have all the ugly anti-aliasing. However, if you don't actually resize it by a multiple, you will get the odd size boxes that you see here. So over here are your standard tool sets. So most of them are just like any art program. You have your standard paintbrushes, your lines, shapes over here. If you're doing anything with curves, I would recommend this.
I don't have like the checkered background. Do you have and like the pixely paintbrush?
The grid?
Oh boy.
Oh. Well, I guess it doesn't matter now. So I don't know why you wouldn't have that, but it's just a standard background for transparency. So you can probably worry about that later. Or you might have it where one of the layers starts out filled with something. So if you just you can do that. Or you can just like go click on your layer and press delete. Just press the delete button. It should delete anything. If not, that's probably something messed within the settings. I started off with a checkered background, so. All right. Yeah. So the rest of these, your standard sectioning off tools. You can select things. You can make gradients, all that good stuff. So the first tool we're going to go over is your regular brushes. Now, Krita has a lot of stuff, but if you're not like me, who spends all her money on nice tablets, most of these probably won't be useful to you because you don't have the pressure. But if you do have pressure, they will change for some of them the opacity of it or the other sizes. You can change the settings for them. But the ones we're going to focus on are the pixel art brushes. So to change them, under your brush presets, right here, that drop-down menu, just go to pixel art and select anything. This is just a 1 pixel line. If you don't know what dithering is, it's this checkerboard pattern that you may have seen like in the old games that have limited palettes. These are used to merge 2 colors together when you don't have enough colors to fill in a third color section. Then you have bigger blocks. You can change everything up here, your sizes. If you want to make something bigger, there you go. Don't worry about the flow. Like I said, most of that stuff you only worry about if you have like an actual tablet to worry about it with. Otherwise, it's not going to help you at all. And here is your erase button up here. So just make sure you don't accidentally leave it on when you're trying to do stuff, because you will panic and wonder why nothing's working right now. All right, so basic game assets, tile sets, backgrounds, character animations, your menus, all that stuff. All this requires some sort of drawing. If you're not just calculating it with the program you have, you're not just making boxes. I promise with a little bit more time and effort, even if you only have a mouse, you can make your game look loads better with just a little bit of effort. So I'm going to show you some basics now. So go to your shape square over here and just like make an arbitrary shape. Just a square. Make sure that erase tool isn't on. Use a square. Now your transform tool over here is going to be very useful to you. So if you go over next to the layers and brush presets tabs, there's a tool options tabs over here. Now you see all these buttons over here, all these options. These are great for perspective drawings. So like in the side scrollers, when you enter a building, the building isn't just straight on. You can see part of the face. So you can do the same thing from here. So if you click on the next button next to the regular one and click on one of these nodes, you can change this perspective. Here's your perspective point from right here. You can also click on that, change things how you would like. Just be warned, it will kind of do that. Unfortunately, you can't just set it to box like you would for scaling images, but we work around that. These ones are a little different. So you can transform your image a little further like this. So you can warp your images through points. You can set things over here. And this one, you just create 3 points on the canvas. Okay, but anyways, when you create your 3 points on the canvas, just click on one and drag it around and see what happens. Yeah.
Where's the transform?
The transform. So if you have the tool set in the 2 bars like I do, it'll be on the right in the middle. It's the one next to the crop tool, next to the paint bucket, the move tool.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's see if I can do this by word. All right. So while we're trying to fix that, if you're back on your selecting 3 points on the canvas, just bear with it for now. Just bear with it for now. So right now, on the right bottom box, where you have the 5 buttons, you should see 2 options: add, edit, anchor points, and deform layer. So after you add, there you go, right here. After you add your 3 points, just click on deform layer, and you can deform things from the points you've set. This helps more if you have a full illustration, but for right now, that's kind of what it does. It sections off something and then it warps it for you. So that's your basic warp tool. You'll be using that mostly for buildings, or if you just like make a basic box. Oh, sorry. And you want to flip things horizontally or rotate them, you can do that as well. If you go to the regular options, down here are your flipping options. You can't see it with the box, but if you click these ones, they'll rotate it for you. Let me zoom out. So that's just regular transform. Another tool that you'll probably find helpful, go over here, is the multi-brush tool. So what's over here is go to, what? Oh, yeah. Okay, so while I still have a screen, over here, right here is the multi-brush tool. It'll be on the top right section if your tools are set on 2 layers like I am. So over on the right. Now go over to tool options. Just follow along. Go over to tool options. You'll see your weighted smoothing, your distance, stroke ending, your pressures, and you'll see your axis point and your symmetry. So this, if you want to make cool backgrounds, you can set your axis of symmetry to whatever you want and just draw something. So if you did it correctly, you should see it like mirror itself around in like a circle, like that. Never mind. So play around with that. If you change up the amount of symmetry you have, you can make more complicated things. If you want to make spell circles for your things or backgrounds for your banners, it's a very useful tool. So now just change over to the brush tool, the top left corner of your tool section. And I'm going to show you a few shortcuts that you can do. Maybe. All right. This will be a little hard to follow on without a screen, but just bear with it in mind. So on the bottom right box of your Krita, where your layers and your brush presets are, right here, you're going to see this little plus sign. That is your layers function. So you can make as many layers as you want. You can trash your layers, all that good stuff. You can duplicate your layers if you need to. Now, I'm going to show you how to make a real simple pixel tree, just to begin with. Real simple, I promise. So, with only one layer for right now, take your select button, the box with the dashed lines near the bottom left of the tool section, and just highlight a box on the bottom of the canvas. So you should just have like a tiny strip on the bottom. You should have like moving dashed lines going around the box you just selected. Do we all have that? Good? All right. So if you move, oh, there you go. So if you move up right here to the gradient tool, I want you to select that. And I want you to go all the way to the top corner where it says gradients. So click that. Make sure your gradients are from black to white, the second option. If you do it with transparent, it'll be a little harder to do what I'm trying to show you. So now just drag a line across. Here's a gradient. Here's a standard gradient. If I see any of you use gradients for your skies or your backgrounds or your platforms, I'm going to be very sad. So once you've done that, just go to select again, deselect it. Just click anywhere in the screen. So make a new layer. So just press the box with the plus on the bottom left corner of the layers panel. If you get confused or get lost, you can always hover up over the buttons. They'll tell you what you are. So
let's keep going.
I unplug it and plug it in.
I'm just trying to see if I can fiddle with the cable slightly. Yeah, try and unplug. The good news is your stuff is recording at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have this all set up. This is the podium cable being finicky.
We're good? Okay.
We're good.
All right. So now that you have a gradient over here, so go over here, press make a new layer, and just leave it blank for now. But actually what you're going to do is go over to your brush your freehand brush tool up here, your brush presets, make sure on pixel art. If you go over to the top left, make sure you have the advanced color selector over here. You should already have this. And go to black. And now I want you to just draw a tree shape. Just make it a Christmas tree, whatever you want. It doesn't have to be too fancy or anything. Go over to the fill tool. The fill bucket tool is right here. Make sure it's limit to current layer. If you click that off, it'll respond to everything around it. So if you want to color on another layer and you check off the limit to current layer, it'll actually respond and fill within the outline. Okay. Well, anyways, fill in your tree with black. Just leave it there for now. Now, I want you, if you go to the black box, the box with the plus mark, if you go to the arrow next to it, you're going to see a drop-down menu with a few different layers. Well, select the filter layer. Do you guys all see that? Make sure if you have something selected to click on the select box and click anywhere outside, because if you have something selected, you won't be able to draw anywhere else except for the selected area. All right, so make a new filter layer. And I already have it on index, but if you click under the artistic filters right here and go to index colors, so the artistic one should be the second one from the top, and the index colors, hopefully you see it. It should open up a menu right here. These are your color ramps. Now, if you don't have a tablet and you can't really use the brushes because no pressure or anything, you can still work around that. This will open up a few options for you as far as pixel art or anything else. So select 4 colors, just like 4 greens, whatever you think a tree would look like. Doesn't have to be too fancy. And now if you'll notice on the bottom, your gradient should be changing into those different colors. It shouldn't be just black to white anymore. That's what indexing does. If you do stuff in grayscale and turn on index colors, it'll change those values into the colors you tell it to. And your brights, your lights, your bases, your shadows. You can add more stuff here. It'll just add more in-betweens, just like that. Yeah. If you, the arrow next to the make a new layer button, you go up to the filter layer right here. And it should be under the artistic filters. So if you're right here, just click under artistic, and you should go to index colors. Make it rid of that. So, okay. Well, as you'll notice, the black tree that you just drew should turn into whatever the darkest color you assign black to. So what the filter layers do is it's kind of like non-destructive editing. You can apply regular filters, filters up here directly to the layer you're on, but if you want to see the difference and don't want to add a layer, add a filter and then take it off and take it back on, you can add a filter layer which will affect everything underneath of it. So that's a great way if you want to see things side by side. So now with your filter, with your index layer, go to the layer right under it and add a new layer. So go to your paint bucket tool, make sure your color is on black, and you all remember where the gradient box, right up there, go right next to it to fill patterns. We all good? Now if you scroll to the bottom, you already have a lot of dithering patterns, so like the checkerboard pattern, so just select one you like, doesn't matter. I use the regular checkerboard pattern. Just fill the layer in. Oh, sorry, don't do that. First, go to your tool options. Make sure you have use pattern checked off. Don't make my mistake. So fill your options. You should have the checkerboard pattern across the whole entire screen. So under your layers tab, you should see the word layers, and then you have your drop-down menu, your blending modes. So if you don't have them under favorite already like I do, go under the mix layer and select overlay. And change the opacity down. So as you'll notice, it will change the colors in your gradient to already have the dithering done for you. So if you want to add in-betweens, this is an easier way to do it without pixelating everything hand by hand.
Estimated time remaining?
What?
Estimated time remaining?
Oh,
How long do you think it'll take?
I'll
Just
just,
curious.
no, I'm just going to go through this and I'll go through the animation panel. That's
Okay,
it.
cool. No problem. Just curious. Thanks.
But if they want to learn art, that's a process. All right, so once you have this, change the opacity under the overlay just to like, just like make it 8. And now make a layer in between your tree and your gradient. Now I'm going to show you something pretty advanced. So if you see the layer you selected, if you look to the right of it, there should be 3 icons, a little lock screen, something that looks like an A, and a checkerboard. Okay. Do you all see those? So click on the A. That's your alpha. Now turn your color to white. Just draw anything. And you should notice if you have alpha selected, it should only draw on the tree that you filled out earlier. It shouldn't draw on any of the clear sections around it. There's your alpha. So this is what I'm going to show you how to do. Go under brush presets, and you can pick whatever brush you want. I go under the wet brushes, and I use the spray can brush for this. Change your size down, and just draw on your tree. So if you'll notice, it should already have everything pixelated for you. So even if you don't have a mouse, you can still draw, even if you don't have a tablet, you can still draw decent background attributes. And like I said, what indexing does is it'll open up the rest of those brushes to you so you can make other stuff. So here's just a basic tree. So from there, we can erase stuff under it and make it look better. If you erase stuff under it, everything in your alpha layer will be erased with it, keep in mind. So you can just edit the tree, and for this, it's very important that if you go under Make a New Layer and go to Group Layer right here, that's a group layer. I want you to highlight all the layers, or so just click on a layer. You can do Shift-click to highlight all of them. Drag them all into the group layer. And if you did it right, they should be like, they should be a little bit over from the regular layer panel. So what this does is that if you want to add a new layer outside of it, it won't be affected by the filter layer on the inside. So if you have multiple color palettes that you wanted to use for indexing, that's how you do that. So I don't have enough time to go through tile sets, but if you press W on your keyboard, you should go into wraparound mode. So if you want to make tile sets, this is how you do it. Because if you are drawing on something, let me get to a... Okay. Well, on your wraparound mode, just like take a pixel and just draw somewhere. So wraparound mode, it's like if you draw to the left and go past the left, it'll go over to the right. So that's how you can make better repeating tile sets for platforms or anything else. For any of you who make RPG Maker games, that's a great way to do things. Now turn off W, and hopefully I have enough time. So now, real quickly, go to the top right under your how you set it up, that one button I showed you in the beginning, and go over to the animation section. So hopefully you should see, kind of like in Flash, you have all your key frames underneath. You have your animation tab. You have an onion tab on the bottom left. This is where changing your Dockers will become very important because you don't have your brush presets here, but you can turn that on if you go under your settings and your Dockers. So I'm going to open something basic for you. Maybe you'll get to see it. So the basics of animation, here's your basic animation tools. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to actually show you how to animate something. But the only thing with Krita animation is that it's more like traditional animation than anything. So if you've used Flash before, you don't have any of those tools. You can't tween stuff. You can't make things move on its own between layers. You have to draw each layer frame by frame, which is the only bad part about it. But everything else, if you see on your animation tab, you have your start, your ending frames. To the right of it, you should see onion skins. on the very bottom left, where you see the layer name you're under, there should be a new icon added besides the lock, the alpha, the checkerboard. There should be a little light bulb. If you see that and you turn that on, that's onion skin, which will show you the previous frames before what you just did and the frames after what you just did. So that's basically animation. Like I said, it's about basically traditional animation. Each separate layer has its own animation frames. So if you want to animate a sketch underneath and then add color and then line art, you can do that on separate layers. And you can copy and paste layers to each other. If you copy and paste something, it'll make a new layer to it, and you can just merge layers, and it'll keep the frames you have in the same place as you merge downwards. Oh, boy. Let's see if I can show you. Oh, I see how it is. No, don't be. Okay. But I mean, besides that, I'm pretty much done.
So the good news is working on the recording
Yeah.
at least. There we go. You're good.
Yeah, but besides that, I'm pretty much done. So yeah, final animation, you can do all your character animations in here. Just be warned, when you save your files, as you can see right here, it's under the .kra, that's your Krita file. If you want to export anything, so you can export things here. Exporting things, as a regular PNG, or if you want to export animation, it will export things as a string of images. So let me change that to the PNG. And that's how we'll do it. So if you want to actually assemble it, you'll have to use another program. What I use is GIMP. Graphic Scale is another one that's really good for this. I don't know if you can animate in Photoshop or anything else, but any animation software to put it together is how you're going to do that. There is an attachment to Krita that doesn't come with the base download. You'll have to look for it on the website that will compile the animations for you. The reason why they don't include it is because it's so big. But if you would like to do it that way, you can download that separately. So, and that's about it. So yeah. So you can make standard walking animations, all the rest.
Can you export that to GIF? And will that do what you expect, or no? Is that what the extension?
That's what the extension is. You can export it to GIF, but it'll just make like a bunch of GIF images.
Oh.
Like I said, if you don't have the extension, it's a string of images. I can show you the files I have where I have 30 frames, because that's all it does.
So the next lesson we're going to be doing is GameMaker, and that's actually how GameMaker prefers animations.
Yeah.
You see it has a bunch of individuals, so that actually works for us.
Any questions?